Hello Gunters. In this video I'm going to review all the major issues with Gunlance in the current version of the game before update 1 this next week. I hope we get a patch to fix a bunch of these. First issue. Bullet Barrage and multiplayer. The elephant in the room and the biggest thing that affects not only Gunlancers but everyone in general. Sure, you don't need much explanation about this. Basically the problem is that Bullet Barrage Wyvern Fire component will send everyone flying regardless if they have flinch free or not. Because BB takes up to 4 seconds to launch, it is hard to not hit others even if you try, and the fact you must mind them also makes you think about them and lose opportunities to go into Barrage. The fix would be as simple as making flinch free do what is meant to do and reduce the knockback to levels that reduces the number of Gunlancers quicked in multiplayer. Second issue. The invisible hitbox of Bullet Barrage. This is something not everyone is aware of. Barrage forward movement has a fixed distance unless you meet a monster in the way, the moment you stop and initiate the attack itself. How the game seems to handle this is to use an invisible hitbox that deals no damage but is there and can hit things. This have 3 main issues. First is that if there is a barrel bomb in the way, you will hit it, it will explode and your BB will get ruined by the explosion. Second is that if you use it on unaware monsters, they will react to BB before you hit them, ruining some surprise attacks. Finally is the issue that you will never be able to get the double damage bonus waking up a monster, since the first hit will be this one. I'm sure there are more problems with this, but I guess you get the idea already. The fix would be to make his invisible hitbox not be actually able to hit anything. I would also be okay, very okay, if they just remove this way to work and allow us to manually detonate Bullet Barrage. Now when you use it very close to a monster, you will move forward a good chunk before blasting, making it very easy to miss at point blank, what actually should be easier. Third issue. Charged shells are trash. Regular charged shells were okish to use here and there in base rise. They weren't good damage but weren't too far behind. They also had a great synergy with Wyrmstake cannon that was actually good at first before going behind over and over again. But charged shells got the shortest stick in the all shelling bonuses, only second to Wyrmstake cannon, and are pathetically weak. Long charged shells got 0 bonuses from Rise to Sunbreak when they weren't a good attack on Rise. For wide, the new shell EC combo is leaps and bonus more powerful. There is also that doing a poke and a shell is usually way faster and stronger than waiting to charge. And charged shells come with the big sacrifice of not being able to use Blast Dash. Is not a price worth paying. They buff normal shelling charged shells, but I can't understand why they are still weaker than all other types and no worth at all giving up Blast Dash under any circumstance. In the time it takes to charge 2 shells, you could just have Blast Dashed into Slam Full Burst for unloading 7 shells. In useless buff. Fourth issue. Supercharged shells are even worse. Supercharged shells, the unique feature of wide Gunlance, were absolute trash in base Rise. Even with focus that only cut down 2 frames the charging time, they had lower sustained DPS than using regular shells. There was no reason to use them at all. And now because all other attacks got buffed, this is still true and they are even worse than before. Why mess with a charged shell when you can just use EC for bigger damage? Fifth issue. Charge Master and Focus are jokes. Focus does absolutely nothing to speed up regular charged shells as always. You get the full damage, then your Gunlance glows yellow, and Focus doesn't speed this up. And as mentioned before, supercharged shells with Focus are still useless compared to regular shells, so this is a dead skill with no real use. Then there is Charge Master that works exactly as it says and increases the fire element damage of Gunlance. Charge Master will give you at best a 8% extra damage with long shells against fire hit zones of 30. But on average you will get a 4% extra damage for a rare skill hard to get. So is a full exercise in futility, considering that this is not going to be enough to make long charged shells a viable style. For wide is even worse with a max bonus of 4% and an average of half that. Charge Master could make charged shells way more viable if also worked in fixed damage. Sixth issue. Dingo Bombardier levels 3 and 4 activation chances. They are ridiculously low. I haven't calculated the chances, but by all accounts, at best is a 20% chance of 5% extra damage. This means a 1% average shelling damage, yay. The only reason why this sees use is because if you pick the skewers with level 1 you are penalized to only a 5% damage. Level 4 is a lot worse with an effect of maybe reducing sharpness when most people are running protective polish and the activation is still low as heck. There is no reason to pick level 4 over something totally more useful like Spirit Bird Collar. 7th issue. Not enough level 8 gunlances. I hope this gets fixed with the upcoming update. There is the eternal issue of having very few max shelling level gunlances available. One long, 2 wide and the rest normal, with one of the normal ones being leaps and bounds superior to the rest. This doesn't mean that lower shelling levels are useless, but usually they only work if you do more slaplancing than anything else or use very niche wide builds. I hope the new augmentation system is able to give us more usable gunlances. 8th issue. Wyrmstake boost does nothing to max shelling gunlances and the slot cost is too high. For something that only can be used with a level 3 slot, sure, Wyrmstake boost is a waste. Damage-wise does nothing to the highest shell level gunlances, so the only benefit is extending erupting cannon duration. That is something totally unneeded due to EC being so good and the bonus lasting even if you put your weapon down. Even if it worked, it would have the problem of the exploit decoration skills being so good that this can't replace a bonus of 5% to every single attack you do instead of a bit more damage to just one of them. Wyrmstake needs a rework if it wants to see any use at all. 9th issue. Ground Splitter. This is not a new issue, but I and everyone else still hates Ground Splitter for the same reasons as in the past, because it is unchanged from Monster Hunter Rise. The two biggest issues with Ground Splitter are that the effects disappear as soon as you sheath your weapon and how long the cooldown is compared with the duration of the buff. The cooldown is 30 seconds, 25 seconds with Wirebug Whisperer, while the duration is always 30s. This means it basically permanently takes away one of your wirebugs unless you activate redirection. There is no reason why this can't work like Erupting Cannon, considering it has the same duration but requires a resource. 10th issue. Wyrmstake sucks. Oh, how much the great has fallen. In base Rise before any update it was the prime Gunlance attack with the highest damage, but with each update it got weaker and weaker. The coup de grace to Wyrmstake was that it got no damage bonus unlike every other shell attack. There was another deciding factor in Rise, that EC is too good to not use, being a 30% buff to melee. The two solutions it needs are to change it to the fast version from any attack instead of just from Ground Splitter, charged shells or guard edge, so can be more easy to use and faster. The other option is just to buff its damage. It would make so much sense if Erupting Cannon also buffed Wyrmstake, and would be an interesting thing since you would have to swap around 2 scrolls to buff and use it. And I could go on and talk about stuff like not enough elemental gunlances or how long in normal play almost the same with no difference, or complain about long Erupting Cannon getting no bonus to damage and so on, but better stop here at a top 10 worst things. And I'm sure you can give us more examples of what you think is currently broken with Gunlance. You can tell me in the comments. And this is everything. I hope tomorrow digital event gives us lots of news and fixes. See you in the hunt.